Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we are joined by two outstanding co-hosts today from opposite sides of the world who've come together to join me and the team to speak about one of our favorite subjects, and that is blockchain. But more importantly, we want to talk about some things happening in and around the entire blockchain industry. We also might get into artificial intelligence. We might get into health tech. We might even get into some regions around the world. We're going to get into that here in just a moment, but a big thank you to tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, the feature is now open, so drop those in there. We'll do our best to ask them in real time. If not, my co-hosts and I and the entire team here at LATOKEN are available 24/7, 365 online as well. And if you'd like to be on a show like today, reach out and we'll find that right spot for you. A big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and jump in. Harsh, welcome back to the show. A little introduction, a little background for everybody.
Hey Kyle, glad to be back and glad to have Gary over here as well. It just feels a big VCTV family over here, right? We're tuning in every day. This is my second session today with Gary.
Oh,
So
wow.
great fun to be back here. So I'm currently a venture partner with our ventures, helping startups raise funds all the way up to $10 million. Additionally, I help Indian startups expand into USA and other international markets and other international markets. If they want to come to India, we help them support them over there as well. I've currently started a Facebook group called Startup Hackers for early stage startup founders, as an educational and an informational Facebook group. So looking forward for an amazing discussion here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harsh. Gary, welcome back as well. A little intro, a little background.
It's been a long time, Kyle, and Harsh, I feel like it's family hour whenever we get together. It's amazing. We're here all the time. So my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. Done 17 companies, 2 unicorns on the original management team of Click Software, which is sold to Salesforce less than 2 years ago for $1.35 billion. Also, I'm the co-founder of Viva.ai, a top AI HR tech company founded with Dr. David Yang from Russia, Silicon Valley-based company. And today, I co-founded GST Venture Studios, and I'm the chairman, CEO, and president. Sometimes I have so many different roles in so many companies. It's like executive chairman here, chairman there, CEO there. But I mean, the net is what we do is GST is get shit done. It's all about execution, and it's about creating value for the shareholders and stakeholders in the company. So that's what we do. We curate companies from all over the world using Silicon Valley as a port to help them go global. Our goal is to turn unicorns are mythical creatures, Kyle. We turn them into real creatures. So it's amazing that we strive to be something that doesn't exist. We make them real. So GST, and it's great to be here.
It's great to have both of you here today as co-hosts and jumping into today's topic. Maria and I earlier this morning actually did a segment all about what was happening in the blockchain and crypto space. It's a news show we host every day, but more importantly today around the topic, few things popped up. I thought it'd be a good discussion to have. The first is Kentucky. Lawmakers have approved a House bill providing tax breaks for crypto miners. The bill is aimed to encourage the crypto mining industry within the state of Kentucky. Now, today's topic, blockchain, we also want to talk a little bit about green and clean tech. We know that when it comes to cryptocurrency mining, sometimes it can be not so or climate friendly. However, we've heard the counter argument as well. So thought that was kind of unique that the state of Kentucky is actually encouraging more crypto mining activity than ever before. But one other big one that might be kind of exciting over here is AWS. Amazon Web Services has now announced that their managed blockchain or blockchain as a service platform now supports Ethereum. They've only supported Hyperledger up until this year or until yesterday when they announced the ability for any AWS customer to open up Ethereum nodes, enter the Ethereum mainnet and testnets instantly. One-click deployments. Oh, and then one other, Discover. Maria and I were chatting about this. So MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, Square, many others in this space. Amex made one investment, Falcon X, a mining company as well, relevant to today's discussion. But Discover Financial, the third largest credit card company here in the United States, has now announced they are ready to begin building out a suite of products, for digital currency. We don't know what they are, where they're going to be, or who's going to be developing them, but they've got 57 million card holders that can be activated with that. So guys, would love to hear your thoughts. What's happening on your side in the industry? Any reflections to these? I've got more that we can talk about in the industry as well. I mean, PayPal is just dropping news and picking up companies. I mean, it's crazy how much activity they're doing. But in relation to GreenTech, and we see this activity happening now in Kentucky and other states, thoughts, what does this all mean, and where does the industry go? Harsh.
So definitely, I think it's in continuation with the discussion that we had yesterday, right? We have these tech companies doing finance. They are the ones who are leading the charge in the crypto world, right? The finance companies are struggling to get the tech part of it right. But you have these tech companies who are doing finance, and they're doing staggeringly well. And that they are the ones who are, the first ones to get into the crypto and truly get the adoption right. So I definitely see, these players are going to be the one leading the charge in the crypto space and down the line in the financial space as well, because the conventional banks, uh, quite honestly, they're pretty bad in cybersecurity and the other elements which are required to have a strong, established, stable, and a secure financial process, right? So that's going to be the crucial part. India is still not kind of that deep delved into crypto space as of right now, because India is still kind of blocking the cryptocurrencies, and it's not kind of allowing the token exchanges as such. But you have like other markets in Southeast Asia, like Singapore and Malaysia, which are extremely open, extremely dynamic, and doing a lot of interesting stuff there, right? I just had a discussion with one player today who's planning to launch his own IE on the token, and he has a very interesting model and is looking to expand over there as well, kind of facilitating B2B e-commerce. So the opportunity is ripe for a lot of things right now. I particularly see a lot of its application in GreenTech and CleanTech as well, right? Following up with the discussion we had a couple sessions earlier, um, right now what happens is GreenTech and CleanTech people don't really have any significant benefits or advantages, as you could call it. A more tangible benefits are not seen, working towards GreenTech and CleanTech, right? With crypto, what we can do is if we can kind of reward good behaviors, which kind of encourage people to use GreenTech and CleanTech resources, we could then move towards the GreenTech, CleanTech future much faster in a much more better way, much more predictable way, rather than just kind of hoping and praying that people actually start adopting cleaner practices, cleaner cars, and other cleaner resources that are applicable over there. So that is how I see, it could be a good application in terms of using blockchain and crypto, and in their application in green and clean energy.
Gary, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I mean, it's you one of the points that you said, it's about the mining, right? And I know my partner invested in a mining group that actually used solar, and so it's like we're defeating the purpose in some way. It's like I'm gonna go work out, but let me have a cigarette. It's it makes no sense. So what we have to do is we got to make sure that throughout this whole chain that we're actually if we're going to be environmentally friendly on a clean tech side, we've got to be environmentally friendly throughout the entire chain. So I think that that's an interesting point. The other thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned about Kentucky, Kyle. It's interesting that we're getting so much governmental support. It's, in one way it's a fad, and you're seeing who's lining up for the next election, right? So you can see it right now. Who's jumping on. And I know Florida, that Suarez just went up to meet with the governor of Florida to talk about DeSantis, to talk about blockchain and crypto. So it's a big thing. And I'm really happy because it's creating a tidal wave. And as you just said, I didn't know that about Ethereum, although I'm really glad I invested in it.
No, so the good thing is no one really knew until about 24 hours ago.
Yeah,
this is a big release by a cloud service provider. I mean, this was not something we've seen in the entire ecosystem. From someone who's been studying this, we have not seen this happen. AWS teased this out in 2018 and has been silent ever since. And again, it was just Hyperledger that they had access to, or AWS customers did. So the fact that they now open up Ethereum, and this is very key. So being able to build and have access to the Ethereum main and testnet is one piece of that story. The second is to run an Ethereum node on the network in minutes. So one-click deployment access now to the really the largest blockchain that has application development on it, outside of Bitcoin as well. I mean, Ethereum has the most dapps. It still has the most development happening on it right now. So
well, Ethereum 2.0, right?
Yeah. So this is just the idea of Ethereum. We are still having ETH 2.0, or Ethereum 2.0 is rolling out over time. It's going to be a long journey for those who have not studied it. The roadmap's out there. It's a very long process, but yeah, that's just one of them.
I'm just glad I invested in it. I don't know what to say.
It's okay. I mean,
thanks. You made my day today. So
I'm glad. I mean, speaking of investing, the NFT space we've talked a little bit about is on fire. This morning, Kings of Leon. Now, the second artist, or actually, I won't say that. Let me take that back. One of the first, if not the first, rock bands has now moved into tokenizing an album. And they're going to do a full tokenized sale of their newest album called When You See Yourself. That's going to have 3 different types of tokens attached to it. One that gets you access to the special album. One that gets you live show perks when we're able to go back to those, or a virtual show. It's still not clear. And then the third is audiovisual art as well. And we just saw Blau, a musician, do this over the weekend for about $11.7 or $11.6 million. We have a few other artists that this is kind of being seeded in a bigger and bigger names. So something else that's happening as well. I don't know if either of you are seeing this or have any thoughts. We also have. The
thing I saw of the sneakers. So when my wife
delicious,
she was trying
$3 million.
Yeah, she was asking me why a pair of sneakers would cost $3 million. So that was that's like, and I was, and I'm thinking, and I didn't have a chance to really get into it because I didn't want to get, it was a deeper discussion, but it's quite interesting, I must say. And
yeah, there's a lot happening. So just to separate the two discussions in the sneaker market, I mean, you've got sneakers, you've got GOAT, you've got a handful of other StockX. StockX is a multi-billion-dollar company out of Michigan, as we were speaking about that yesterday here on VC TV. But these are secondary marketplaces, or marketplaces in general, for sneakers. Sneakers, there was a great article out in Bloomberg this week's edition, all about sneakers being a new asset class, that they do hold tangible value. They do fluctuate up and down in price. There is both a primary and a secondary marketplace for these globally.
Hush is laughing. And if he's like me, I can only think they get smelly and they get old.
Yeah, look, I mean, used. Okay, now you're talking about something different. You're talking about used. These are sneakers that may have never been used before, that are exclusive editions, etc. That go on to.
Understand, but I mean, I'm talking about vintage sneakers. Maybe there's a better. And if Shaquille O'Neal wears them, you know what I'm saying? It might really add the value. Shaq, if you're listening, I'm telling you, brother, this is the way to go.
So actually,
he's done it.
Actually, William Shatner had worked on something like this last year.
Oh, did he? Really? I didn't know he did it.
So not on the sneakers. What he had done is he had come out with his own cards, and he kind of released around 20,000 cards, if I'm not wrong. And now each and every time the card gets traded, gets a royalty on that. It's amazing the opportunity that is there.
They were trading cards made of photos, never before seen photos from his private collection of him in various stages of life and on set, offset, etc. And he turned them into trading cards as well. And back to your point, Gary,
Shaq, listen, I'll tell you a story. This is a true story. Shaq was down in Los Angeles. I don't know if you've ever heard this story. So he was playing around in one of the hotels, and there was 2 kids there. And Shaq loves kids. So Shaq started playing with the kids, playing around. I don't know, it was 1994, 95, early to mid-90s. And he's playing with these kids. And their father comes out and said, you know something? You seem to be really good with the kids. And, he's like, yeah, I love kids. And he's holding them up in the air and all this. He said, I'm going to give you an opportunity of a lifetime. He said, we're going to be doing, how would you like to invest in my company? And Google. And so Shaq made a ton of money. I don't know if you've ever heard the story out of Google.
Yeah, he actually,
Sally's tech investor.
yeah, he spoke about it, and he got into it just after it, or just before it IPO'd as well. And
Yeah.
Shaq, if anyone hasn't studied Shaquille O'Neal, Shaq has made a number of successful investments throughout his career, both as an athlete and as businessman as well. But back to the shoes conversation, he's actually sold shoes, including used, game used shoes, which do have a tangible value. So back to the sneakers conversation, there is an asset class there and a store of value to these sneakers as well. Futurelicious, again, I apologize for mispronouncing that, but is an artist, just turned 18, released special edition sneakers with art that he designed in addition to an NFT that a few of these, yes, sold for an aggregate of $3 million as well. And Harsh, as you mentioned, we did see William Shatner.
Charles, you got any used sneakers? We can work a deal.
Imagine if Michael Jordan comes up with his Air Jordan 1, which he wore in his first patch, comes up, creates a token for something like that. What would that be valued like?
Unbelievable, right?
Mm-hmm. It's just like the trading card market, physical and digital. I mean, there is not just nostalgia, but there is value as investors here in these types of things. I mean, this is an ongoing conversation in the industries right now around not just NFTs, but again, these alternative assets that people are investing in as well. So yeah, a lot happening for those that are out there, sneakerheads.
Yeah, I mean, part of the thing, Kyle, we're going out to a broader audience. So it's not like Christie's and Sotheby's where you're selling sneakers and you got a limited audience. I mean, it's going out to everybody. And then fractional ownership, right?
Yes. And then there's also authenticity. So a company called Suku, SUKKU, that was built on Hedera Hashgraph actually is doing something of this nature where they're taking NFT sticker tags and putting those onto shoes, creating the authenticity, and it creates a digital replica. If I'm correct, it creates a digital replica of the shoe, so you can see the physical and the digital version and have it as authenticated. That's real.
And so you possess the physical version of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what about the fractional ownership? So the fractional ownership side. So you get a pair of sneakers, right? And now there's fractional ownership within those sneakers.
Sure. I mean, for a $20 sneaker, that might not be, commonplace, but, using Harsh's example, let's go to the Michael Jordan Air Ones. His first pair, we'll just use for conversation's sake. So the first pair of Jordans, go for $2 million. That is something that, may be fractionally owned. And as an asset, it could increase in value. So someone could invest in it, $20. And over time, maybe that 20 turns into 25 as the shoe continues to grow in exchange by people buying and selling, shortness of supply, right? Increase of demand. So there is that type of stuff we're seeing. I'd say it's probably not as heavy on the sneaker market as it is the digital art market in particular. And again, I mean, there's a physical and digital asset.
No, I mean, I just was watching this interesting show on Netflix about forged art, and Pollock, it was a Chinese math professor. I don't know if you saw the show. It was incredible. Actually, it forged the art, and he was as good as 8 masters. I mean, it was an incredible situation. And even the folks that looked at things like provenance couldn't tell. Of course, provenance, right? The history of it wouldn't show, but it was like it was a secretive investor, and et cetera. But it's interesting. I mean, it's really interesting, and so the value is the intrinsic value of the sneakers, not the material value of them. It's kind of like the U.S. dollar, right? It's a piece of paper, so it's really interesting. It's fascinating. So what the limits are going to be? So
another additional aspect to this would be, if you look at all the collectible art and traditional art historically, it used to be focused only with the few super HNIs, billionaire people who would kind of be working on trading and trading these pieces of art, right now with fractional ownership, it completely democratizes the entire thing. and even regular
Mhm.
people can get fractional ownership within that. It kind of opens up new possibilities altogether.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if you bought that piece of art, a Pollock or whatever, right, and then you not only did you get the fractional ownership copy, but you got a authorized replica copy of it, right, as that part that's part of the deal. That might become interesting because what's it going to be all about? I own part of a Pollock, and you have one to show in your house, so you know.
Definitely.
Masterworks does that right now. Masterworks, you can have fractional ownership of art and other items as well. And I mean, imagine now split the assets, so physical and digital. So you have ownership of something physical, as example, and you also have a digital replica. And if you can trade or exchange that digital replica while you hold on to the physical and almost separate the two with them still being linked in terms of authenticity, now as an investor you may have two different things you can look at as well. But let's bring it back, because we could jam on this all day, and we've got great audience here at VCTV with questions coming in, and hello everyone, all the great comments as well. So Harsh, I mean, India, in terms of blockchain, there is a ton of pushback around digital currencies, but a lot of acceptance around blockchain. We see the State Bank of India moving forward into partnership with JP Morgan, and working with them at the bank level to integrate blockchain around remittance and cross-border payments. What else are you hearing around how blockchain or fintech is playing a role either in those spaces or in the sustainability factor in technology as well?
Got it. So you're quite right on that. So cryptocurrency, especially the international ones like Bitcoin, they're still not, very supportive of that. But
Mhm.
the government of India is planning to kind of create their own cryptocurrency as well, right? They are trying to create their own crypto coin, which can be used internally. Now, so it's not technically not a crypto coin per se. It's easier to say it's a crypto coin, but essentially, if it's backed by a central government, it's no longer decentralized. So we kind of need to have to figure out the structure, what it'll look like. But if you look at the applications of blockchain, right, it's absolutely phenomenal where you can kind of apply it, right? Definitely one of the major areas that we're looking at right now is in the supply chain elements of it. Problem is in Indian supply chain and logistics space, it's extremely decentralized. It's completely chaotic. Papers get signing agreements, papers get completely lost. There's no track record of that. It's still completely manual. With smart contracts, Ethereum smart contracts in place, and using the blockchain technology, you can kind of structure the entire thing, get people accountable. You can trace it back to the sources, and definitely bring a lot more accountability and lot more speed and process to the same, right? So that is one area I'm seeing a lot of progress in. Additionally, I'm looking at it in terms of agricultural space as well. So agriculture, in terms of it right now, what's happening is the farmers, they then sell it to middlemen then sell it to the higher level middlemen who operate at the entire city level, right? To kind of structure the entire value chain of the entire farm, right from the farmer to these big middlemen farmers, then going back to the end customer, right? If you can integrate the entire value chain through the blockchain, it kind of brings a lot more credibility. At the same time, you can kind of trace the produce back to that specific level of farmer. So that is another very interesting application, which we can think of blockchain. We haven't seen too much progress in the fintech space as of right now, but I'm hoping to see some interesting progress in the fintech space as well.
Thank you, Harsh. And Gary, I want to come to you on a similar question, but more focused around Southern Florida. So I know that you've talked to us a little bit about the city of Miami, Mayor Suarez, as you mentioned earlier, and some of the activity that they're doing around the city, helping to bring not just make Miami a crypto-friendly city or digital currency-friendly city, but also integrate digital currencies into all of the city services as well. Tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing in those types of activities around Southern Florida, and just the city of Miami, and what's all happening there from a blockchain and Bitcoin perspective, or cryptocurrency, pardon me.
First of all, you have an influx of people from around, especially Silicon Valley, down to Miami. So they've created this bridge, and they've been open arms. They've got signs out in I don't know if they have them in San Francisco, but on 101, welcome to come to Miami, that kind of thing. So they're actually very aggressive about it. And what's happening is, in order to become the city of the future, there's certain things that need to take place: smart city and IoT, blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Ed Suarez just took a point position on that. I mean, he's a younger mayor, His father had been the mayor of Miami back in the 90s time frame. Very interesting story, but he's really embraced the idea of cryptocurrencies. And then, as we've talked about a few times, investments from Wales, and my friend Coram was investing $4.8 billion to be able to jumpstart it. He, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I think I've said this before, but I was on the WhatsApp chain I was on there with them when he said they were talking about Miami. Well, I'm going to invest money, and how much? $3 billion, and then somebody said 900 million. They're going to put in, et cetera. And so it ended up being 4.8, but he's putting it in. So what does it mean? It just means there's a lot of confidence. And when you start having government officials start to embrace blockchain and crypto, it changes everything because it legitimizes it. It's anytime you go through technology, and I've been through a lot of technology curves, from Unix to multi-threaded operating systems to e-commerce. I started one of the first e-commerce consulting companies in the world, partnered with Broadvision, which was a multi-billion-dollar company. It was bigger than General Motors at the time. And so I've seen these waves, and every time at the beginning of the wave, you go through this educational wave, and people say, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be involved in it. And all of a sudden, it's like the dam breaks, and as a flood comes in, like cryptocurrencies today, and it goes through the roof. So, and, from my standpoint, there's still some questions, right? With all the cryptocurrencies out there, people can't make sense. But as we get more mature in the market, it's like Amazon gone from selling books to everything. And now you talked about AWS, et cetera. So it's look at it. This digital transformation is upon us. Cross-border transactions are really important. And then having the flexibility to be able to be portable. People say, well, gold and silver. Well, how many people really have gold and silver in their houses? Well, they got a ring, they got a couple watches, a bar maybe that's handed down through the, through inheritance, but in reality, it's not. And then you got concerns about currencies that aren't pegged to anything, paper. So I think it's really interesting how it's happening, and it really fits in with the whole digital transformation of the planet Earth. We started accepting blockchain or Bitcoin payments ourselves. So, and how smooth it was to do it is incredible. I got to tell you, not a lot of BS. It's in. Now, the question is, what is it? Gensler is now working for the Biden administration. Gensler teaches at MIT cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So now the Biden administration has somebody that's a friend of the market. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Then you got the banks. The banks are kind of on the outside looking in. There's these technology dinosaurs. And if you're listening, banks, Harsh can help and Kyle can help. But you got technology dinosaurs out there that have to they can't wait. If they don't do something and move forward quickly with the digital transformation, all these changes, they're going to be out. Shouldn't be debating about cryptocurrencies. They ought to figure out how to be able to deal with it. We got a Bitcoin ATM right across the street from my house, right? Gas station. Of course, Bill Gates and a lot of wealthy people live down here, so they're a little different. But poor country boys like me go over there and I see a Bitcoin ATM. It's unbelievable.
So where do we go from here, Gary? I mean, if we're looking, a few years into the future, I mean, what does this digital economy look like for us as consumers? I mean, we're coming up on time here, so I want to get that in. I mean, we got Discover, who wants to enter this space. PayPal's making aggressive investments. We've got new custody solutions. We've got easier interfaces to onboard and offboard all types of consumers, depending on what you want to do, whether it's, again, going back to the collectibles conversation, it's doing a lending and loaning, it's buying these currencies, it's transacting. I mean, this is all becoming a little bit closer to mass adoption. But on the bigger picture as a digital economy, give us your prediction here in 2025. So 4 years out, 2025, where are we? So investors out there that are listening know where to start placing bets, but entrepreneurs start building.
So we're going to have mass adoption of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, Ethereum 2.0. I mean, it's just going to happen. These things with these NFTs, I mean, there's room that it needs to be ferreted out. We got to be careful of the Dutch tulip phenomenon. So we got to make sure all the pieces are right. We're going to see that grow, we're going to see the democratization opportunities on a global basis. And that's what happens. It doesn't matter where you are, access, look at Starlink going up. It's about the access. And now it's happening. Is it perfect? No, but it's a whole lot better than it was a year ago, right? Now look at us now in India, in Palm Beach, in San Francisco, and when we're on the calls earlier, from everywhere. And so we're seeing the digital transformation. The banks have to step up or they're going to be out of business, because you're going to have to figure out how to be able to work with. I mean, I tried to get Bitcoin from my private banker, and I tried to work out a deal. I just didn't want to go through the process of Coinbase and all that. I just wanted them to give me those private services. We don't do it, Gary. This is one of the largest SunTrust, one of the largest banks in the Southeast. Mm-hmm. And so the banks either adopt or die. So if I was a bank out there, you better figure out how to deal with it. You get guys like Gensler in the administration. Trump was like, he was not a supporter, but Gensler and Biden are. And so what I would do is I'd figure out how to integrate it into the system, how to make sure I'm part of the opportunity. Quorum, my friend, is going to, he's giving out 9,000 Bitcoin machines to U.S. universities. 9,000, right? Imagine what that's going to do, because guess what? When you're in college, and you're exposed to these incredible technologies, you start to use them later. And it's not, my daughter is 24 years old, 25, I got to say now, but 25 years old. And for her, it's just normal. It's normal. So Bitcoin, Ethereum are normal for her. So what I'm saying is that this is a wave. It's a tsunami coming in across a lot of different areas: AI, quantum, the digital transformation of our lives, health tech, et cetera. We're going to live a lot longer. We're going to need more security, decentralized security technologies. But it's happening now, and the people, it's like surfing. You better get on your board and ride the wave, or you're going to get crushed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you, Gary. Harsh, to you as well. What's your prediction for the next 4 years as we start to build into this bigger digital economy that we're all living currently?
Got it. So definitely across the world, right? The trust and the faith on fiat currency has completely gone for a toss, right? People are beginning to see it for what it is. It's just paper at the end of the day. The governments, the central banks are just printing randomly. So in a situation like that, it definitely makes sense that you have another parallel economy, a parallel cryptocurrency in place, which kind of balances that out, right? At the same time, it kind of mitigates the power of the central banks, the central governments, because now we have a currency which is created by the people for the people, right? So in terms of democratization of the opportunity, it's definitely all the way up there. At the same time, it becomes very interesting to see how the central banks and the current financial institutions of the world react to it, right? Because it's a challenge, it's a threat to the entire existing economic system, the way it's operating currently, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see how they react to it. Because if they kind of come up with their own local so-called cryptocurrencies, and the banks kind of come up with their own currencies, then it'll create the same ecosystem again, where each for from exchanging from one token to another or one currency to another, you have to pay these middlemen these 2%, 4% charges, which kind of make no sense whatsoever. So that is why we need to figure out a way, to kind of completely redefine how the financial system works at the moment. Some amount of regulation is going to come into this space. How exactly, we need to figure it out. It definitely cannot be in the way the current regulation system is working, because we cannot have a few select group of people having that much power, that much authority, determining how the world financial system works, right? So it could be like a decentralized regulatory system, which is kind of regulating the entire crypto market, the entire crypto token market. That kind of thing we could see coming into place. But at the same time, it has to be ensured that it remains decentralized and it doesn't get centralized in the hands of a few people, because that will then completely defeat the entire purpose of why the cryptocurrency came into being to begin with.
Absolutely. And with that being said, gentlemen, I want to come to you both for any closing thoughts and also where you can be found as we're coming close to the top of the hour. So Gary, anything else to add to today's discussion and for the audience to be aware of? And then where can they find you along with GSDV to continue the conversation?
I mean, this is a great time. We've gone through the digital transformation that was started a year ago, and now we're coming, down to the last 6 months to a year of COVID. And there could be other things out there, but we're coming to the end of this. This is an opportunity of a lifetime to be able to do things from all over the world. We're connected together entirely different ways than we were a year ago. Use it to your advantage. Write as much as you can, because that's one of the ways you establish credibility on the internet. Speak, talk, network, come to events just like this to get the knowledge to be able to help your company move forward. These are exciting times, but again, it's like surfing. You want to ride the board and not get hit by the wave. So jump on the board. My name's Gary Fowler. You can reach me on LinkedIn, Gary Fowler, Twitter, Gary Fowler. I have shows, in fact, one in about an hour, Gary's Picks, where I'm going to highlight a company from the UK that's a social media company. So check it out. We'd love to stay in touch. And
wonderful. Thank you, Gary. Harsh, to you as well.
Thanks, Kyle. So definitely, as Gary pointed out, these are very exciting times. Lots of opportunities out there. People thinking COVID is kind of harming the business to an extent, yes, but if you pivot it in the right direction and see the newer opportunities which are there, the amount of opportunities which we see today are literally endless. You look at green energy, you look at clean tech, you look at GreenTech, you look at solar, you look at crypto, and you look at blockchain, you look at AI. The amount of opportunities are endless, right? Find the right one based on your skill set, and just forge forward. You have lots of knowledge out there in your hands. Now it's all the way up to you to kind of implement that. Just listening to and speaking to people is not enough. You have to act on it, make some changes, implement them, and take it to the next step. So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'll be glad to help. I'm reachable at Harshetia on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So looking forward to connect with more interesting people. Thank you.
Wonderful. Harsh, Gary, thank you both very much. Wonderful co-hosts today. We dove into a number of topics. Much more we'll talk, I'm sure, over the rest of the week here on VCTV. And to your audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, make sure you click subscribe. Also share the episode and check out the archive on LATOKEN.com to hear more from Harsh and Gary, along with the entire VCTV family of investors that we bring together from around the world for them to share their thoughts and insights and on-the-ground perspective around different technologies, industries, and regions around the world. And if you'd like to be on a show like today, either as an investor or as an entrepreneur, reach out to the team and or myself, and we'll find that right spot for you. Speaking of team, a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me everywhere online at Kyle Ellicott, along with on all social media platforms with Harsh and Gary as well. Please do reach out. We'd love to continue the conversation with you. Make sure you add context, where you heard us, where you met us, and what you would like to continue the discussion about as well. With that, we're going to take a short little break, and we'll see you back here tomorrow on more VCTV. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.